Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today I am covering Below Deck, Season 8, Episode 1. There's no place like home. You guys, I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to cover this one. We're coming on the heels of a terrible Below Deck med, and I think the producers must have known it, so they threw this awesome start to a season at us. So let's get into it. Quick side note real quick, we have a bunch of stuff coming up soon. I'm doing 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days, Season 3. It's all out on Hulu. I'm about to start putting those episodes up, so if you want to watch it, check it out. Also, if you're into The Mandalorian, Season 2 just started up, and I just put my first episode of that up. It's my husband and I recapping it. He's a big Star Wars nerd. I'm not, but it's pretty funny. We make jokes about The Mandalorian, so check that out as well. Hey guys, I just want to take a second and say if you're enjoying this show, please check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Real Housewives Recaps, or check the comments below and I'll put a link. And for $1 a week, you can support my show and get 4 bonus episodes per month. I'm covering Scary Island, like the greatest season of Real Housewives of New York. So check it out. Thanks so much. All right, so we start hearing the captain's voice right off the bat. And we find out we're in the Caribbean. It's Antigua this year. So let's do a little cast breakdown because I have trouble keeping them straight, especially the first episode. So I thought we could look at who is who, so that way when I talk about each one, you'll know who we're talking about. So this is Eddie the Boson. He was on 5 years ago. Can you believe it's been 5 years? Oh my gosh. He hasn't been yachting in 5 years. He's been working on tugboats in Baltimore. But if you remember, he was on Rocky's season. And he wasn't nice to Rocky, but I liked him back then. And I like him now. I mean, I think he's gonna add a lot to the season. So this is Avery. Avery, unfortunately, sounds like he does not stay with us long. We see him leaving this episode. Oh, it sucks. Because Eddie was complimenting what a hard worker he is. Plus, they don't usually have 3 under them. I thought that was a little strange. So they must have known something was possibly going to happen with his grandma. This is James. This is the British one that likes to show off his thighs. And by the looks of the season trailer that we got at the end, he's going to be in a showmance with a couple of the girls. This is Shane. Shane is going to be a handful. Shane is a recent USC grad who didn't want to do a silicone startup. I can't talk like any of them yet, but that's kind of how he talks. So he decided to get into yachting. Shane carries around a satchel of paper straws. So this is Francesca. She's the chief stew. She has pretty big shoes to fill since, Kate was always in this position. And so it's going to be hard, I'm sure. But we'll see. So far, so good. She seems like she's got her head on her shoulders and got right down to work when it was time. So we'll see how it goes with, managing her crew. And then we meet Izzy. Izzy is I guess they're lining her up to be the second stew because she's had a lot of experience on boats. I like Izzy. Izzy is Australian. I think she's really going to butt heads with that chief stew. They just have totally different personalities. They already seem to clash. I didn't like that Izzy kept telling the captain, things aren't good. You lie. You fake it till you make it. Things are great. We got this. Did anybody else notice Izzy sounds like Rosie Pope? Do you know who that is? That was on Bravo, that old, what was it? The maternity show. She had a maternity concierge service in New York. Anybody know what I'm talking about? She sounds like her, where it's kind of a mix between Australian and a little bit California. This is Elizabeth. She is our very zen stew. They showed us about 100,000 pictures of her doing yoga, and she talks about moving clouds with her mind. So we'll see how that goes. And this is Rachel, the chef. So it's very cool that they brought on a female chef. And I feel so bad for her. She started off on such a rocky foot because her food looked incredible. But she was explaining that literally she had just gotten to town. She put her purse in a shopping cart to get a few things. and somebody stole her purse. Keys, wallet, IDs, credit cards, everything. Stole it all. That sucks. That would be a rough way to start. You can just tell she's in her head about it, and I get it. That would be rough. Okay, so let's get into what happened in the episode. First of all, they're back on motor yacht My Sienna, and they're in Antigua, and oh my gosh, you guys, look how beautiful this is. This was filmed in February, so unfortunately we are going to cross into Corona. Unfortunately, I wish we didn't have to see it since we're already living it, but we see Eddie for the first time. He's the first one on the boat. Again, 5 years have passed. He sees Captain Lee's mug, and he's like, hey, that's weird. Where's Captain Lee? He's always on the boat the first day. So he's looking around for him. Hey, what's going on? He ends up calling him. Oh, man, this broke my heart to hear. Captain Lee, oh my gosh. So he had a fall in the shower, and he busted a couple ribs, and he's worried that he might need surgery. If it's really bad, he may have to head home. So he's waiting at the hospital to be taken in to be seen. So he tells Eddie, just listen, have the chief stew, get on the laundry, start getting the boat ready, distribute the uniforms, you got this. So we see the chief stew, Francesca, arrives. He fills her in, tells her what's going on. And the rest of the crew starts to arrive. They have to kind of get moving because the boat is leaving in like 22 hours or something for the first charter. So it's always chaos. I never know when they don't bring them in sooner, like a day or two sooner, but who knows? Maybe the last group is getting off the boat. I don't know. It adds to the chaos. I'm not real sure. So we meet all the deckhands, the stews, all that. Izzy, I like Izzy. She's definitely going to butt heads with Francesca. They're talking about the experience, and it's poised to seem like Izzy is going to be the second stew because she's had like 5 years experience, but as we see in this episode, her and Fran kind of butt heads. P.S. Shane just shows up in the middle of this this meeting and sits down. It's like, hey girls. And at first they find it charming, but it's kind of like, okay, what's this guy doing here? This is weird. Don't they have work to do? So he gets up, he gets lost. Okay, going back to the girls. So we see, of course, we think it's going to be Izzy that's going to be second stew, but then Elizabeth kind of steps in and helps things out. So it's real interesting to see what's going to happen there, depending on what Francesca wants to do. Eddie finds him wandering around, and it's like, Shane, what's up, man? Don't you, we got stuff to do. So he sets them straight and gets them working. So everybody's working on the boat. They're working their butts off to try to get this boat turned around. We got Eddie back making this face. Oh, by the way, did you guys notice? I might be making this up, but I think the chef actually sounds a little bit like Rocky when she talks. So that's kind of a funny thing to think about, is that we would have Rocky's voice and Eddie back. So this part's hard because, they're just walking around setting up the boat. Now, I will say, we got this picture of James here. I think James is going to be trouble. James is going into all this. I don't really see yachting as a career. I'm just here to get some sun, maybe work a little, have some fun. So that's not going to go over well with the captain at all. Rachel arrives again. Like I say, she was frazzled because of, having all her stuff stolen. That sucks so bad. So people are getting ready. We do see provisions start to arrive, and I'm always curious and fascinated when provisions arrive. I like to see how many boxes they got, what all we can make of the things that we got. We saw a bunch of condoms arrive, which I thought was pretty funny. I never thought about that. I just assumed the guests bring their own, but I guess it's for the staff as well, just to prepare. Eddie calls. Oh, yeah, there's the provisions. Lots of stuff. Eddie calls the captain ends up showing up not much later after that. He sounds just like he's in a lot of pain. Luckily, nothing is broken, so he can stay, but he's saying when he moves a certain way or inhales, he's like, he has a funny line here. He says, my ribs are killing me only when I move or breathe. Then he says, suck it up, cream puff. Captain calls a meeting in the Sky Lounge, and these are always iconic moments for this whole series because he always says, Don't embarrass the boat and don't embarrass yourself. I cannot do a Captain Leap, but you get in a very stern way. He'll throw in some GDs and some, gnats asses or whatever he's saying. Like weird expressions, but he always says, don't embarrass yourself, don't embarrass the boat. This year he adds no physical intimidation. He's not going to have a repeat of last season. Remember, Ashton was just a total toolbox and hitting things and being aggressive for no reason. He says, if anybody thinks I won't fire someone in the middle of charter, they don't know me. Oh, thank God for that. Okay. Izzy is like Captain Sexual. She loves to make everything into a sexual joke. So she's like making jokes about Captain Lee being sexy. She calls him a daddy, grandpa, and he'll take you over his knee if you do something wrong. Woo! She's going to be a handful. So Captain meets with Francesca, and he's explaining to her he had the same chief stew for 6 years. Of course, it's Kate. It took a long time to get to that level of trust that he had with Kate, and he says he's just telling her how he likes things. He's going over the list, and, he expects perfection. He expects a lot out of his people, and, he even tells her that the pants that the other stew is ironing aren't quite right. He likes the crease a certain way, not the way that the other stew had done that. So she's like, okay, on it. Takes him downstairs to get him fixed. So it'll be interesting to see the relationship between these two. So they call a preference sheet meeting, and the charter guests are people we've seen before. It's Charlie and his boyfriend Carlos, a bunch of their friends. So the guests are keto and vegan and all kinds of dietary preferences there. And what's cool is for the first time, we have a chef that's like, okay, I got this, no problem. Like, she's been trained in all these things. The chef made me like her here because she said, I got this, I'm going to F this charter in the mouth. Oh, goodness. So the captain's warning everybody that Charlie is a handful. And, of course, that he's a previous guest. So the next day, Captain orders breakfast. And this is where we see Izzy is going to have an issue with going super slow. While this is going on, Shane is doing his meditation on the deck right there. Captain can watch him through the window, and he's like, what the hell? What's going on? Meanwhile, Izzy still cannot figure out Cheerios and coffee, like literally the simplest breakfast order in the whole world. It ends up taking like 34 minutes or something for him to get his Cheerios and coffee. I'm surprised he didn't hit the roof about that, but he didn't. Poor Captain is groaning anytime he leans over. He's still not feeling good. My question is he allowed to take pain medicine? Let's ask Captain Sandy about this. Good God. I can't even bring up Captain Sandy, but I'm just saying, like, oh, I'm sure she had a lot to say about this. Oh, he's had to take pain medicine. Oh, goodness. Anyway, I hate that he's feeling bad. We see the guests start to arrive. They're walking down the dock. Hey, there's a boat. Yay. Seems like a high-maintenance ball of energy crew. So they all get on, and they go through the boat. And I want to say about this boat, I like this boat. It's big. I like some of the features of the boat. I hate the bedrooms on this boat. Have you looked at them? They're very dated. It just doesn't seem as fancy as some of the other ships we've seen, some of their bedrooms. This one's a little bit dated to me. But the guests are ordering espresso martinis. What is it with the guests and espresso martinis? Is that a thing? Like, that seems to be a common thing on a lot of these charters. That's what people drink. I've never had an espresso martini. I'm not a coffee drinker, so that's probably why. But I just wonder, why on boats do people order that? Is it so they can stay up late partying? What's going on there? But Izzy is completely overwhelmed. Francesca, I couldn't gauge her here. She was helping some, but I think she's just got so much other stuff to do. She can't really hang out at the bar. Francesca is struggling to make coffee, and Izzy is struggling to make these shots of espresso. And Francesca's already getting annoyed, like, we need to move this along. Let's go. While Francesca and Izzy are making drinks, they ask Elizabeth to go down and unpack the primary. There's so much stuff for 3 days worth of a trip. This is where I didn't really care for Izzy. Izzy needs to be a little more assertive with the primary here, because the primary comes in and kind of takes over and is like, all right, you seem overwhelmed. I'm making drinks. That's where she should have firmly been like, nah, I got this. You go chill with your friends and I'll send up some snacks, something like that. Kate would have been a pro about this, but Izzy's just not confident. Francesca's working downstairs. Izzy comes down and kind of tells her what's going on, and Francesca seems mortified, as you should be. The guest is doing your job, basically. The guest says something menacing like, let's call today a learning curve. Tomorrow you have to get it right. Sends Shane to try to help them out a little bit. Shane brought all these paper straws, and he's very proud of this fact and tells everybody that walks by about the paper straws. I hate paper straws. I wish they'd just use, like, they should maybe look at the metal straws that you can just reuse. Unfortunately, Avery gets a text about his grandma not doing well. He's talking to his mom, what should I do? And she's like, that's up to you, honey, which means come home. Well, the captain's watching them play around on jet skis, and he calls them morons, I think, because they're being kind of rough on the jet skis. He says they're being morons. Avery ends up going to find the captain, tells him about his grandma, and that he's going to have to leave immediately. And it's such a crushing blow because he seems to be the only deckhand that has his stuff together. So that stinks. So here's my question. And I'm definitely not trying to be cold or rude about this. I'm just straight up asking because it hit me when we were watching. Why does he have to be gone the whole season? Like, I feel like this has happened before where people leave and then they come back. Why not just have him go, spend 2 weeks with his family and then come back? I was a little surprised that they're writing him off for the season because it seems so, final after this. We see Eddie fall off the jet ski, and I could not tell exactly what happened. I tried to slow it down here. That's why it's so blurry. But Eddie fell into the water, and he was pissed. The other deckhands were trying to help him up, and he said, don't touch me. And he goes to change. Captain Lee calls him up to his office, so he's already like, what now? And, they tell him that Avery's going to have to go because of his grandma. I will say Captain Lee and Eddie were very sweet with Avery. They were giving him hugs and saying, so sorry, man. You have to deal with family. Don't worry about it. And that's how the first episode ends. We do see a season preview here of what's going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. Again, coming off the heels of that last disaster, Mediterranean, this looks amazing. We have the chief stew in tears. The captain is not impressed about that. Just lots of stuff going on. Drama with the chef threatening to quit. We got some boatmances going on. Looks like he's hitting on Francesca as well as Elizabeth, so we'll see how that plays out. That never goes well. We see some fighting among the crew. That always happens. And then we see, it looks like Captain Lee might kick off one of the charter guests. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. We see this shot, and he's asking her, it looks like he got up in the middle of the night, put on his jacket, and was like, all right, get off my boat. So we will definitely see what goes on there. Can't wait to see what happens. That's how the episode ends. So this is where I want to hear from you. Leave me a comment. Which crew are we liking? Which crew are we not liking? Do you have opinions yet? Do you have a feeling about somebody who's going to be the villain? What are your thoughts on this? I'm very curious about all of it. I just love this show, and I'm so excited to be covering it again and getting back into it. It'll be a lot of fun to talk about, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts as well. So leave me comments below. I love reading them all. They're so much fun. I love talking to you guys. You can find me here. You can find me on Twitter at Real Recaps. Check out my Patreon if you want to support this channel, and I thank you guys so much for everything. Have a fantastic week. And stay safe, stay healthy. Bye-bye.